I didn't have the best start in life. My parents were very poor. We lived in a very small house, and life was a struggle. But then one day, that all changed. My life suddenly got a whole lot better. Before I go on, make sure you like and subscribe and hit that notification bell. If you do, you will become super rich when you're older. I had always been jealous of the other kids at my school. Whatever they wanted, they got. They all had the trendiest clothes and the latest new phone. I didn't even have a phone. All my clothes were handed down from my older sister. Most of them had stains on them, and my shoes had holes in the soles. The other kids at school would laugh at me and call me names. I just wanted to be like them. My mom and dad both worked hard, but they didn't have jobs that paid well. I never really saw my dad. He went out to work early in the morning and came home long after I had gone to bed. Mom tried her best to give my sister and I a nice life, but it wasn't easy for her. The day it all changed was just like any other. I went off to school in the morning. I took my own lunch as Mom couldn't afford for me to buy anything at the school canteen. I was used to just having bread and jam for lunch. It had been like that all my life. I was in high school now, and the other kids didn't tease me as much now. I guess they kind of ignored me, really. I was walking home from school when suddenly I noticed a shiny $1 coin on the floor. I bent down and picked it up. I looked around me. No one seemed to have lost it. I was about to put it in my pocket to take it home. I knew that this would help my mom to buy some groceries, when suddenly I realized I was in front of the newsagents. I looked in the window and saw the bright, sparkly scratch cards for sale in the shop. I hesitated for a minute, but then decided I was going to go in and buy one. I waited for my turn to be served and asked for one scratch card. The sales girl looked at me doubtfully. "Do you even have money to pay?" she asked, looking at my worn clothes and shoes. "Yes, I do," I replied, handing over the $1 coin. She handed me the scratch card and I left the shop. I was so excited. I wanted to make this moment last as long as possible. I thought about where I should go to scratch off the card. I knew the perfect place. I would go to the park. There was a little bench overlooking the lake. I would sit there. I headed off to the park. I felt so happy. I knew I wouldn't win anything, but I just wanted to be like the other kids that bought the scratch cards every week. I wanted to know how they felt. I sat down at the bench and took out the scratch card. I read it. Match 3 symbols to win, it said. I scratched off the first column. I had the money symbol. Good start, I thought. I scratched off the next column. Money symbol again. Now I was getting nervous. I couldn't actually win, could I? My hands shaking, I scratched off the last column. It was another money symbol. I had won. I had actually won. I ran back to the shop as fast as I could. I handed my card to the sales girl. She looked at me smiling. "Congratulations," she said. "You have won $1 million." I thought I was going to faint. $1 million? I was rich. I couldn't wait to tell my family. I set off for home, planning all the things I was going to buy with my money. But as I got closer to home, I thought about what my parents would say when they found out. My dad would tell me to put the money in the bank. He would tell me to buy a house and not waste it on silly things like nice clothes and expensive restaurants. That's when I decided I wasn't going to tell my parents or my sister. I would keep my win a secret. I arrived home and Mom was in the kitchen preparing dinner. Vegetable soup, as usual. We only had meat on very special occasions. I could hardly contain my excitement as I sat down to eat. I was dreaming about all the things I was going to buy. From then on, my life changed. My parents had no idea. I bought myself a whole new wardrobe of clothes, but I had to hide them. I left the house wearing my old worn-out clothes and changed into my new expensive clothes when I was out of sight. It was easy to pretend I was still poor. I did feel a little guilty at home, especially when my mom said that she was getting a second job to help pay all the bills. She looked exhausted all the time, but I was having so much fun. I saw all the trendy kids wearing a new style of sneakers. I decided I had to have a pair. Saturday morning came and Mom had already left for work. I got up and had breakfast, then called my friend. I arranged to meet her in town. "I want to buy some new sneakers," I told her when we met up. "I know a new shop where you can get them," she said. "Follow me." We walked through the town and arrived at the shop. It had all the latest sneakers in the window. I stood looking at them. We went into the shop. "I'd like to try on the pink sneakers in the window," I said to the clerk. As she turned around, my mouth dropped open and I gasped. "Mom, what are you doing here?" I said. "This is my new job," she replied. With that, I ran out of the shop. My friend ran after me, looking confused. "What's wrong?" she asked. "Oh, nothing," I replied. I just changed my mind. Luckily, she hadn't seen it was my mom working in the shop. When Mom came home from work, she came to my room. "Why did you want to try on the sneakers, Sarah?" she asked. "You know we would never be able to afford them." "I just wanted to see how they felt," I replied. My mom looked at me sadly, but she gave me a little smile. I woke up the next day and forgot all about the sneakers incident. I was excited. I was going out to one of the best restaurants in town with all of my friends. I left the house in my old worn clothes as usual, then changed into one of my best dresses and sparkly shoes. We went into the restaurant and sat down at the expensive-looking table. I felt like a princess. We ordered the best of everything. We had lobster and steak and the biggest piece of chocolate cake you could imagine. I had the time of my life. When I got home, Mom was busy in the kitchen again. She smiled at me as I came in. "I have a treat for you, Sarah," she said. "I've made your favorite, roast chicken." I looked down at the plate. I knew Mom had made this to cheer me up, but I was so full. I couldn't eat another thing. Mom looked disappointed when I said I wasn't hungry, but she hid it and said, "It's okay, never mind." It wasn't long before I was wanting something new to make me happy. Buying clothes and shoes wasn't exactly as exciting as it used to be. I thought about what would really make me happy. I know, I thought. I want to go to a foreign country on holiday. I couldn't stop thinking about it. I sat at my computer searching different countries. Finally, I decided it was Greece that I wanted to go to. I couldn't wait to sit on the beaches there. I was looking at hotels, trying to choose which one to book when my mom came into my room. "Why are you looking at hotels in Greece?" she asked. "I want to travel, Mom," I replied. She looked at me sadly. "You will need to get a job and save up for a very long time then," she said. The next day, I went down to the travel agents and booked my trip. I was going to Greece. I was going to stay there for 1 month. I was so excited. Now all I had to do was think of a reason to tell my parents that I would be going away. The answer came to me that evening. I was sitting at home, and as I didn't have anything else to do, I picked up the newspaper and started looking through the job vacancies. Suddenly, something caught my eye. There was an advert looking for a maid to work for a family in the next state. They wanted someone who could live with them. I tore the advert out of the newspaper and put it into my pocket. The next morning, I told Mom and Dad over breakfast. I said that I had seen the job advert in the newspaper. I said I didn't want to say anything until I was sure, but I had applied for the job and I'd got it. Mom looked a little sad when I said I was going to live with the family, but she knew that if I wanted to travel, then I would need to take the job. The following week, I packed up my bags and waved goodbye to Mom and Dad. They thought I was going to the bus station to take a bus to the next state, but instead, I went to the airport. I was catching my flight to Greece. The flight to Greece was overnight. It took such a long time, but eventually, we landed on a runway and the plane doors opened. The heat hit me in the face. I could feel the hot sunshine as soon as we left the plane. I looked around me. Everything looked so magical. It was all I had dreamed of. I took a taxi to my hotel. It was blue and white and looked exactly as it did in the travel agent's photos. A porter carried my bags to my room. I felt like royalty. This was the life I had dreamed of. Later that morning, I set off down to the beach. The water was blue and looked so inviting. It wasn't long before I was diving into the sea. It was crystal clear. I went snorkeling and saw dolphins and beautiful corals. On the second day, I woke up and thought about what I wanted to do. I wanted some more excitement. I walked into the town and saw a sign advertising motorbikes for rent. I had never ridden a motorbike before, but it looked pretty easy. I rented a motorbike, and after a few instructions from the cute Greek guy, I was soon on my way. The wind was blowing through my hair as I drove around the island. I was enjoying the view and not really concentrating on the road. That's why I didn't notice the oil on the road as I went around the bend. Suddenly, I found the motorbike slipping from underneath me. I skidded off the road and into a tree. I was in the hospital and hadn't woken up after my accident. That's when the hospital decided they would have to contact my family. They looked in my bag and found my parents' number. My mom answered the call. The hospital told her that her daughter was in a hospital in Greece. "She can't be," said Mom. "She's working as a maid." The hospital convinced Mom that it was me and said that her and Dad should come straight away. My parents booked a flight, even though they had to borrow the money to do so. When I woke up, I didn't know where I was. I looked around me and realized I was in the hospital. Mom and Dad were sitting beside me. "We don't understand," they said. "How did you get to be in Greece?" I was scared to say it, but I knew I had to tell them the truth. "I won $1 million." I said. I'm so sorry. I should have told you. I just wanted to know what it was like to be a rich kid. They were shocked to discover this, but they hugged me anyway and told me they were just glad I was safe. We returned home and I stopped my crazy spending. I helped out Mom and Dad and put the rest of my money in the bank, like I should have done from the very start. Oh, Mom, do I have to drink it? Come on, Natasha, be a good girl and drink your shake. But I'm bored of drinking this. Come on, you know it's good for you. Can't I have orange juice instead? Just drink it, okay? Stop messing around. I'm not going to tell you again. Wow, Mom looks really angry. Looks like I'm not getting out of it. I picked up my protein shake and drank it. But before I go on, make sure you like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't end up with parents like mine. When I got to school that morning, I went to find my best friend, Vicky. She always sat in the same place waiting for me, so I wouldn't get confused looking for her. I tapped my white stick on the ground as I counted the steps in my head. I knew that it would be 20 steps to reach the other side of the playground. Hi, Vicky, I called out. Even though I couldn't see her, I knew she would be there waiting for me. You don't look very happy, she said. I'm not. Why? What's happened? I told Vicky about my argument with my mom. She makes me drink this protein shake every morning. I'm so sick of it. You know, I was watching a documentary the other day on those shakes. They're really not that healthy. They're full of sugar and can actually do more harm than good. Vicky was a grade A chemistry student, so I guess she knew what she was talking about. You shouldn't drink them. You're a perfectly healthy girl. Apart from the fact that I'm blind, Vicky laughed. Well, yes, but that was something you were born with. But seriously, Natasha, you should just stop drinking the shakes. But Mom got so mad this morning. I don't want to upset her again. You could just pretend to drink it. Then when she's out of the kitchen, just pour it down the sink. That's a great idea. That's what I'll do. So the next morning when Mom gave me my shake, I didn't complain at all. I sat eating my bowl of cereal, and after a few seconds, I heard Mom get up. I just need to grab my purse from upstairs, and then I'll take you to school. Drink your shake up. I waited until I could hear her footsteps going up the stairs, and I picked up my shake. I emptied it into the sink and rinsed the evidence away. I sat back down just before Mom came into the room. Good girl, Natasha. Mom picked up my glass and cereal bowl and put them into the sink. Come on, I'll drive you to school. On the way to school, Mom chatted away. She had no idea that I hadn't drunk the shake. I went to find Vicky. It worked! I didn't drink the shake and Mom had no idea. That's great! I did the same thing for the rest of the week. Every morning, I would pretend to drink my shake, but really, I would pour it down the sink. Saturday mornings, I always woke up late. I love sleeping in, and it was about 10 o'clock when I eventually woke up. I opened my eyes, but had to close them again really quickly. I had seen something bright, like a light, and it had dazzled me. I opened my eyes and blinked again. I didn't know what was going on, but I could definitely make out something bright. Every morning for the next week when I woke up, things began to get clearer and clearer. Is my eyesight coming back? I didn't want to get Mom and Dad excited, so I didn't mention anything to them. To be honest, I didn't want to believe it myself, just in case I was wrong. But by the end of the following week, I could see everything clearly. I gazed around my bedroom. It was beautiful. I had always imagined in my mind what the outside world looked like. But as I looked out of my window at the flowers and trees in the garden, I realized the colors were far more vibrant than I had thought they would be. I couldn't wait to go downstairs. I was finally ready to tell my parents I'd gotten my sight back. I ran downstairs. Be careful, Natasha. You might slip, said Mom. You don't have to worry about me anymore. I can see! I can see! I looked at my parents, and for the first time, I saw what they looked like. My mom had beautiful blonde hair and aqua blue eyes. My dad was the complete opposite. He had black hair and dark brown eyes. I can't believe that I finally know what you both look like. Mom and Dad looked at each other. I expected them to be jumping for joy, but instead they looked a bit annoyed. Natasha, did you stop drinking your shakes? Asked Mom. I didn't want to lie to her. Yeah, I'm sorry, Mom. I just got bored of drinking them. You shouldn't have done that. I was so confused. I wondered why Mom was going on about the protein shakes when I just told her that I can see again. The following morning, I woke up early. I heard Mom and Dad going outside to the car. I looked out the window at them, but what I saw shocked me. They both looked entirely different from the day before. It was as though they were wearing face masks. I began to feel a bit suspicious, so I decided to ask Vicky to help me. I called her and told her my good news. That's amazing, Natasha! I can't believe you can see! It's so exciting. Yes, I'm so happy, but the reason I'm calling is, do you think you could check out the ingredients in my shake for me, please? Vicky agreed to help me, so later that day, I took the box of shakes over to her house and left it with her. It will take a couple of days to find out exactly all the ingredients, but I will let you know as soon as possible. A couple of days later, I was sitting in my room doing my homework when I got a call from Vicky. Are you sitting down, Natasha? Yeah, why? There is something in your shake that reduces your eyesight. With the amount that you have been drinking over the years, it was enough to make you blind. I couldn't believe what she was saying. Could my parents have known what was in the shake? Had they intentionally been giving me a drink with poison in it? I knew there was only one way to find out. I was going to have to confront my parents. I walked until they were both sitting in the lounge together. Did you know that my protein shakes you were giving me every day was the cause of my blindness? What are you talking about, Natasha? Vicky tested the ingredients. I know there was something in it that made me go blind, and you were so insistent on me drinking it every day. Okay, yes, you're right. We did know, but it was for your own good. You're crazy. I don't know what's going on with you two. You wear face masks when you go outside. You forced me to be blind. What is wrong with you? I didn't know what to say or do next. I couldn't believe my own parents had done something like that. I had to get out of the house and away from them. I hate you. I don't want anything more to do with either of you. I ran out of the house and down the street. I had no idea where I was going, but I had to get as far away from my parents as possible. I ran and ran for what seemed like hours. Eventually, I found myself at the far side of town. It was a pretty rough area with lots of empty, boarded-up houses. I slowed down and began to look around for somewhere I could shelter. I would need a dry place to sleep until I could work out what I was going to do. It was getting dark and it looked like it was going to rain. A dog barked at me from across the street. I kept on walking, hoping that it would ignore me. I'd almost given up hope of finding somewhere when I walked around a corner and saw a door to a house and it was open. I went inside and called out, "Hello? Is there anyone home?" There was no reply. I went further in. The house was full of furniture. It looked like someone had just walked out, leaving all their belongings behind. It was perfect for me. I decided that I would stay there for as long as I could. The next morning, I got up and went into town. I was hungry, but I didn't have any money. As I walked along the street, I could smell fresh coffee brewing. My stomach rumbled loudly. The smell was coming from a cafe on the corner, and I went inside. I was hoping to ask for something free to eat, but before I had a chance to speak, the woman inside said to me, "I'm sorry, I'm too busy to serve you. My helper has just quit on me. I'm looking for a job if you need a new helper." The woman looked at me. "Okay, you're hired. Put the apron on and come and help me make some breakfasts." I couldn't believe my luck. I had got myself a job. When the morning rush was over, I sat down with the woman and we had a cup of tea and something to eat. You worked well, Natasha. Thank you. I enjoyed it. I spent my days working in the cafe and my evenings in the house that I had found. It wasn't a luxury life, but I had all that I needed. At least someone wasn't trying to poison me. I began to forget all about my parents, until one day, something happened that really shook me. I was walking through town on the way home from work when I saw a couple walking towards me. I felt sure that it was my mom and dad. Of course, they were wearing masks, as they always did when they left the house. I have no idea what got into me, but I suddenly lost my temper. I ran straight up to them and tried to pull the masks off their faces. "Ah! What are you doing?" asked the woman, holding her face in pain. "Get away from us!" shouted the man. They weren't wearing masks at all. Sorry, I thought you were someone else." I ran straight home as fast as I could. "Don't ever do anything like that again," I said to myself. It was only a few days later when I was on my way home from work again when I saw another couple that looked just like my parents. Fear started rising up inside me, but I told myself to calm down. I calmly walked towards them. Suddenly, the man grabbed hold of my arm. "Come on, Natasha, you're coming home with us." It was my dad. I tried to struggle, but he was too strong for me. "Come with us, and we will explain everything." No, leave me alone. "We're not going anywhere until you agree to come and listen to what we have to say." I got into the car and we drove home in silence. When we got back, Mom and Dad told me everything. The reason we gave you the drink was to protect you. You see, we are wanted by the police. During the daytime, we wear masks to hide our identity. But once we get home, we take off our masks. We didn't want you to see our real faces. But you poisoned me for my whole life. You guys are sick and crazy. We only did it to protect you, to stop you from finding out our true identity. No, that's a lie. You're selfish, both of you. You only did it so that you could walk around at home without wearing your masks. What kind of parents do something like that to their daughter? I'm sorry you feel that way, Natasha, but you can't leave the house now. You can't keep me here. I have a job. I'm sorry. We can't risk you telling anyone who we really are. Please, I promise I won't say anything. You have to let me go. But they wouldn't. They took me up to my room and locked all the doors. There was no way for me to escape. They kept me a prisoner in my bedroom. They didn't even let me out for meals. Instead, they brought a tray of food to my room. It went on like that for weeks and weeks. I never saw anyone other than a glimpse of my parents when they pushed the food through the door. One day, I was laying on my bed when I heard the sound of someone knocking at the front door. I jumped up and looked out of my bedroom window. I couldn't believe it. Vicky was standing in my garden. I banged on the window as hard as I could. She looked up, and when she heard me banging, I started waving my arms and screaming, "Help me! Help me! My parents have locked me in here!" I have no idea if she heard me or understood what I was saying, because the next thing I saw was her walking off down the driveway. I suppose my parents must have told her that I wasn't in or something. I felt so sad and in such despair. I'm never going to get out of here. I lay back down on my bed and tried to go to sleep, but it was of no use. I just lay there staring up at the ceiling. Suddenly, I heard the wail of sirens. My heart started pounding. Were they coming here? I looked out of the window again. 4 police cars had pulled up outside of my house, their lights flashing and sirens screaming. I watched as the police ran up to my house, and the next thing I knew, my bedroom door had been kicked in. "You're safe now, Natasha. Your parents won't be able to harm you ever again," said a police officer. They took me downstairs and out to a waiting car. I watched as they brought my parents out of the house, handcuffed, and put them into another police car. "Where are you taking me?" "Your friend Vicky is the one that called us. She told us everything. Her family have said that you can go and live with them if you like." "Yes, please. I would like that very much." My parents were arrested and sentenced to 10 years in prison. I live with Vicky and her family now. I don't know if I can ever forgive my parents for what they did to me. For now, I'm just trying to enjoy my life.